All right. I know we'll have additional participants hop on. I want to be respectful of you, of your time. I appreciate y'all getting back on with me after last week. And again, we'll continue to try to make this a more regular occurrence. This year is coming to an end very quickly, and I want to make sure that I have all of the information to each of you that you need to wrap up this year. So I did go ahead and put on to record this video, and that way, if there's anybody who misses any of the information, you can go back and watch that. We can share it out for those that are unable to attend, but of course, we are always here in the office for anything that you may need. So today, we're just going to kind of briefly go over the end of the year checklist, and then we'll touch on a little bit in regards to some summer school pieces, sort of things I think I figured out how I can help this group, because I know you don't have additional time to pick up additional tasks, to make sure that we get those students enrolled, and then that our counselors can move on with getting those students registered. And then for secondary at the end, if you want to hang out, we'll talk about kind of our end of year pieces that are coming up in regards to excessive attendance reports, the student failures that will be pushed to transcripts, and hopefully a process that we can get in place for how we can run the appeal process in a manner that will be doable in the time frame that they're asking for that to be done. So with that, I'm going to ask that if you have questions, you can place them in the chat box. If you want to unmute and hop on at any time and stop me, please do. I'm going to share my screen and make sure that you guys are able to see. So just a quick, anybody visible? Miss Damaris, can you see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs up over there in your video? I see a thumb. Excellent. What a wonderful thumb. Okay, so I shared this with the group. If you did not receive an email just a little while ago, please just let us know. We'll get that shared to you. This is kind of our end of year PEIMS checklist that we put together last year. And so you're going to notice across the bottom, you have your options for elementary, middle, and high. So each group kind of has their own steps. Most of them are very similar in nature, but again, they are specific to your grade level. So make sure when you're pulling up your checklist that you pull your grade level appropriate listing. On this, we tried to give as much information as possible, but we'll just run through it briefly. And of course, as always, if you have questions, stop me and ask. So this year's school year ran from August the 23rd. We run through, of course, the 25th this month. So we are practically there. We know elementaries, we're wrapping up grades right now for next week, so we can begin the process there. Secondary campuses, high schools in particular, senior grades, wrapping up on the 20th, so everything's where it's right on top of us. So on the discipline assignment attendance reconciliation, you'll want to run this report for all action codes. This would be at all grade levels. Then you'll also want to run that report specifically for your action codes of 07. We know we do our discipline reporting to the state during our summer submission. The first one goes in on June 16th. I know that Suzanne Hamilton and her team is working on any of those discipline corrections that need to be made, and they're communicating with your campus's assistant principals and principals for any corrections that need to go in there. But you'll want to keep this for your records, and it says there also send one electronic copy to the team's department. But again, for the discipline teams, this is pretty standard practice. Place those in your end of year box as you're going through. Report card grades. Remember, as you start going through this last run, to go back. We know we've had a lot of transition, a lot of student movement from out of district students. We want to make sure that we have all of the report card grades completed. If you're on some of the secondary campuses, I know we've had some issues with our own teachers finalizing grades or getting those in the report cards. We have to have all those grades in place, and that way we can run all of our final calculations for semester 2. Again, that is not your responsibility to make up grades or enter a grade on their behalf. It is their responsibility to get you that information to enter. So make sure we're not just going in and entering anything without the proper documentation or proper guidance through email or other written requests. The next piece is our retentions. Once you have a student retention list, and I want to talk to y'all about this one and get your feedback. For most of y'all, this is your list of students, particularly at elementary, middle school, that are attending your summer school program. They are being placed on a retention at the end of this year. And this is the process of marking their student escalation to make sure that when we print their final report card, it would show them to be retained. I can help with this. I can code these in mass. If the list of your retention matches your summer school listing. So how many of you, just kind of in the chat box, you can answer, have seen a summer school listing or seen this specific spreadsheet with a list of summer school kids? That's an empty chat. They're working on these lists on campuses. I know they're due to Carmen Logan at the elementary and David Hamilton secondary campuses by the 16th. All right, I got some hands. Ms. Smith says no over at Cedar Ridge. David has done an amazing job over at West Avenue. Over at Dean. West Avenue, Maria, you have actually enrolled your kiddos. And in quite honesty, West Avenue's kids are also scheduled for summer school already. So their counselor doesn't even have to do the scheduling because I use them as a demo. This is what a finalized list would look like. Maria, can I ask you this? For West Avenue, are these also the students that you're going to be marking as a retention?
From what I'm informed of, yes, sir.
I can code them in one fell swoop and mark the retention on those students, which would allow you to then run the student escalation report to verify that list. Is that something that would be helpful?
Yes, sir, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
So for West Avenue, we're talking 40 students, but for some of the campuses, we're talking several hundred as we get into, or 150 or so in the middle school. If I can get these lists from your campuses, if you are given access to these lists in this manner, is it something that y'all would want me to mark as far as your escalations? If so, what I'll ask, just give me a call or send me an email. If you want to mark your own escalations, you're certainly welcome to do that. If you would like me to mark them in mass, and then for you just to pull the report and verify them. And again, the name of that report is the student escalation report, which is this one here. Oh. I can certainly do that. So again, student escalation report. would look like this one. And again, the escalation we're talking about here for our new folks. And just as a reminder is our retention. Am I going blank?
Isn't it promotion status?
Promotion status. There we go. Thank you. So it's under promotion status. So you would just simply pull your campus. Enrollment date could be the last day of school. And what you would be verifying then would be all of those students that are marked with a promotion status. Under that promotion status is where we select the retention. Thank you very much. And this one probably is going to come up blank, but it'll give you a sense of what you were looking at. This would then match all students that have an escalation marked on the campus. And you can see here, they're all marked as blank, but you would see any of them that had a promotion status of retained, you would see that escalation marked to the student with the retention. All promotion statuses at this point were cleared out. So you won't see those on the students. But again, I'll leave it up to y'all. If y'all want me to mark those in mass, if that is the same list for the escalation for the promotion status, I can mark those through the database, and it really will take me just a few minutes. So that's that retention list. If you're going to do that yourself, remember it's simply under maintain student. I love having my kiddo in the district at this point over at Bells Hill. And so I could go in to my manage enrollment, escalations, under promotion status, you can make the marking for retained and current grade level and save and continue. And then that way, once you have that retention list verified, we know that when you run your final report cards, those report cards will print with the retention status for the student. You have to have this step done prior to running those final report cards. And if you need any support there, let me know. If you would like me to add those based off the summer school list, let me know as well, and I'll get those added, and then you can verify.
There's a sign on my door. That's okay, which me.
The next one, print final report card. Remember, end of year, you're going to print that second copy that will be placed in the students' folders as well. Again, I'm kind of running through the elementary, but many of the pieces are very similar here at the top. Remember, secondary, you will contact Judy Wasson when all grades are complete and verified so that she can run the final calculations. Elementary, you'll contact Rita Weems when all grades are correct and verified at the campus, and she can run the final calculations before you run your report cards. The next one, this was a new process that we put in last year or 2 years ago, I believe. This was in place of the teachers trying to print out their own grade books. You can run, there's two ways to do this, and I know both have been done effectively. The report is called the class assignments report. And if you click on these links, it actually has steps and instructions on how to run that report. This can be run either by you in the central office for each of your teachers, or you could have your teachers run their own reports. The class roster or class assignments report is their grade book. They can run it for the whole year. and you can have them place that file for you in like a Google Drive folder to make sure you get that from all your teachers. You know your staff, you know their capabilities and what's going to work better for you in that sense. So you can make that choice on how you want to run that process, but we want to make sure we have a copy of each of our teachers' grade books saved electronically. You do not have to print these out to place them in your box. If you have an electronic folder, you can place these on a flash drive. If you want to place that flash drive in your box and do that as well. But again, don't feel like you need to print all of these out. These final reports will be upwards of 40 to 50 pages sometimes. So every teacher will have that finalized class assignment report. Again, for them, if we go into our report profiles, the teacher is for the teacher version. Class assignments report you can run from central or from your location for your campus. And again, you would simply go through the information being requested. You could put all of the grade types here. That way it's pulling all of the marking periods, progress reports, etc. That way you have everything in there. And it's not going to allow you to run them all at one time. It's going to be too large. So typically, again, this is where you end up running it by teacher, all courses, student names. We'll go ahead and put the dropped in there to pick up any of those. We don't want to admit, we want the student IDs. We want the grades. You can sort this by course section, since we're running it by individual teacher. No page break needed. And you can request. You can do that by each teacher and save those yourself. Or again, you can place that on your teacher. Work with your leadership to have the teachers do that, and they can send that information to you, replace it in a common folder. Class assignments report will look, again, basically like a large grade book. We'll pull that up here in just a second. After that, you want to make sure that you're running your 504 and at-risk list. We have some additional information that we'll be entering the end of this year for our dyslexia, also our pre-K and early childhood testing information. We'll work again here to enter that information in mass, but you'll run those lists and provide those with the appropriate to the appropriate parties to verify those lists and sign off for your box. Verify all grades and attendance requests, and then printing of grade labels. There's Rita Wayne's. We're not going to worry about the attendance labels again this year. I believe we're just going to focus on the grade labels. But again, making sure that everybody's got grades in, making sure your leadership team's on board to help you get that information so grades can be finalized. That contact can be made. Rita can get you guys the grade labels. That way you can have support on campus to help get those grade levels placed on the student C13, so you're not trying to do it all yourself. The last piece, of course, and I'll pull a report and send out as well, double check your next year lines are all written to your students. All of those should be in place. Online registration is going pretty well. We have about 12 to 14% of the district has completed registration. Most of that, of course, is at the pre-K level. But again, this will continue to be open, and we'll push out more notifications through the district level to make sure that the parents know that they need to go ahead and complete their enrollments. So we'll continue to push that and try to get all of the registration done prior to them returning in August. So all of those are kind of the steps prior to the end of this current school year. Middle school, very similar in all of it. High school, the only thing different is we know that we'll be running, once we receive verification that all grades are complete, Judy and myself will be running the excessive attendance reports, which will push out the excessive attendance indicator to the students' grading, then pushing the mass transcripts. That will be done seniors first. They have us pushing those transcripts no later than that morning of the 23rd. They should most likely be done. We'll push those possibly on that weekend. I believe their grades are due the 20th. Teachers are supposed to verify and have those in by end of day. And then they want us to possibly push the transcripts on that Saturday. When we push these credit excessive attendance denials, I know at this point, we had some letters that went out either Tuesday or Wednesday, last couple of days this week. Let's see. I think we were upwards of, apologize. We were upwards of 2,200 students that were going to lose some form of credit for both as total for both high school campuses. So by students, we're looking at about 1,300 students, a few more with passing grades that would lose, it's right. It's upwards of 2,000 students that would lose some form of credit for excessive attendance. I believe the indicator would be marked on just over 5,000 courses. So the trick for us at secondary is knowing that we'll have upwards of 270 students at university, or 250, 260, and then upwards of 285 over at Waco High that will be losing credit based on the excessive attendance indicator that would then be going through the appeal process. I have a process in place that I think I can help y'all, help your campuses get the appeals put in a mass process without y'all having to go in and individually touch every student under the maintain student grading to complete the credit appeal, and then going into the transcript and correcting there as well. So hopefully I will have some more information for my secondary registrars that I'll be able to help y'all out for sure with the seniors, and then we'll see what they want to do with the lower classes in regards to how those appeals will be corrected in the system or entered into the system after those are done. So we know we have a short timeline on seniors, so that will be, we will be focusing on y'all at the high school that week for sure, in that last week of school. Any questions there? Yeah, it's scary. The secondary credit piece is scary for everyone. So in that last week, Rita and Sari will be assisting the elementary, but everybody else be all hands on deck to make sure we get our seniors graduated, transcripts verified and correct. And just specifically 2 people on a campus can't handle the amount of appeal process that's going to take place there. All right. So secondary, when you look through, again, there's not much change there. Again, everybody kind of checking the next year campuses. Y'all done a great job with the registration process. We have some parents calling if they're unable to select the right campus. Lake Air, I believe, is corrected. It's going through a process of putting the new year overrides. I believe all the transfers, we've gotten most of those corrected, and they're showing up at the right campus. So thank y'all again on those next year lines. Remember, the big one is our seniors. If they are not going to graduate, if you're given that list and you know that they are not going to graduate, we must put in that next year line. It cannot be blank. Every 12th grader with a blank next year line, the system assumes that is a graduate. So once you have that information for those that will not be graduating, make sure you go into those seniors. It's the same concept. So if I go into my kiddo again, all you would be doing on your seniors is you would be going in to the maintain screen, add back university or Waco High, or if they're going to be going to Brazos, you could put Brazos. Their calendar ID will automatically populate with traditional, and again, they'd be back in the 12th grade. So any senior, if you go to right now, this information is blank. the system assumes they're going to leave as a graduate. Any of those that are not graduating, with that list you're provided, you'll go in and make sure that next year campus is populated along with their 12th grade again. All right, so that's pretty good. Y'all got all that done before the end of the year. We're good to go. After the last day of school, you see here we put information in regards to our verification by your campus leadership for the principal report. Unfortunately, still the campus TEA principal reports are not running as accurately. They have not completely corrected those reports. They have worked on and completed the corrections on the TEA superintendent principal report. So what we're saying there is that on May the 31st, first thing in the morning, we will run those reports and then distribute those to the respective campuses for you to provide your campus leadership. That way they can sign off on the full year's ADA, as well as all the special program codings as well. But we will provide those to you that morning of the 31st. And I realize y'all go on contract pretty quick, but that'll be the last signature we need from leadership signing off on the year's ADA. The C13s and those pieces, elementary, again, if we're able to get that process in place, many of you have great systems on campus where you have your teachers come in and assist with that. Keep that up, and we just want to make sure that we get you that information and get you those labels. So as quick as those grades are verified, the sooner you let Rita know, the sooner she can begin on that process. Boxing and labeling your discipline and attendance records. If you're new towards the end of this year, you definitely have support. Let us know. We'll come over and support you in this process. Elementary, you're looking for your 5th grade folders, of course, preparing those for transition. If they're finalized and complete before leaving, if you can communicate with the middle school campuses and assure that someone will be there to receive them, you could send those. If not, you'll want to send those immediately when you come on contract next year. Make sure, again, in that there's a transfer list inside that folder, that you have a copy of that, so that can be verified that all folders were transferred. We'll talk about CUME folders more quickly this next year. I know we're going to begin the process again of coming out and doing some field audits. We haven't completely identified how we want to do that, but we'll come touch base and help make sure we get the CUME folders organized and just checking the contents, and then go back and revisit if there are things that we can remove at the elementary level that are not needed, that will not need to travel along with those CUME folders, versus that blanket statement of nothing needs to be removed. Ultimately, what happens is the secondaries have some very large CUME folders with a lot of information that will end up being thrown out because we don't keep it in our permanent CUMEs. So we'll come back and revisit that process next year for sure. But for now, getting them boxed and ready for transition at 5th grade. Middle school, of course, your 8th grade folders. We have registrars on campus, so if you can get those shipped out before leaving the end of this year, that's great. If not, again, first thing when you come on contract next year, get those over to those receiving campuses to make sure they have that information in a timely manner. Anything you can think of there from my group, Suri, anything else y'all, Dina, Rita, Judy, anything else y'all want to add in regards to the CUME folders and the transition? Have a gnat after this. Okay. If y'all do think of anything, just come on and let me know. Pre-K, all that information is already out to the campuses. Elementaries, y'all are doing a great job on the pre-K. I see a lot of y'all in there already verifying. If students become verified, we know that the last thing we have to do in the system is still pick them up to the enrolled transfer. remember that if a student, and I'm talking to pre-K right now, but this goes for any, if a new student does a registration, they've never been in the district, until we pick them up, until their status states enrolled, the system will not pick them up during rollover. So that means if you have like those pre-K students that you've gone in and you viewed the information, the status, once you click on a student, changes to accepted. Accepted still does not mean that they've been enrolled. It also doesn't mean that they're going to become enrolled when we do the student fiscal year rollover in July. Accepted status pretty much to me means that it's been reviewed. It means that that student's file has been opened and reviewed, but it does not mean that they're going to be enrolled in the system. So same thing there with the transition. High school, of course, you'll begin the process of final report cards, everything, the CUME folders, and you'll begin the process of cleaning up those senior folders to get those to Margarita for permanent storage, and then for the transcripts for final transcripts and seals for those students. Prior to start of the next year, same kind of piece. It's kind of clean up at that point, depending on where you are with the transition of your folders. We want to make sure to try to get the CUME folders, everything cleaned up, accepting those onboarded or those new CUME folders for the middle school and high school, getting those organized. Any cleanup on the folders you can do. We'll talk about that more next year. And then, of course, if there's anything that you're not able to finish by the end of this year, finishing off all filing and those pieces. And then, of course, as we talked about next year, inactive folders and those pieces, and again, organization. But Margarita will be contacting the campuses as always in regards to those inactive folders that are past the 5-year time frame, and getting into the destruction pieces and getting you guys cleaned up on campus. I know that's always difficult to stay ahead with as much movement as we have. So hopefully some of the things that I try to help with at the end of this year will prevent y'all from having additional tasks, and hopefully allowing y'all to have some time to get cleaned up and caught up. I'm not guaranteeing that, but it's a possibility. All right, any questions in regard to the checklist? Ultimately, at the end, remember to print off a copy, show that you've completed everything, and you will send that into the clean's office, particularly for the end of your reports. Again, the TEA report will send to you guys, and that will be attached and everything boxed on your campus, and then the copy sent to us electronically to box here as well. Summer school is the other big piece, and I won't spend too much time on it. Again, y'all don't have any responsibility in regards to scheduling in those pieces. Our sole responsibility is to get those students scheduled enrolled in the system. So basically, I'm able to do all of the schedule enroll if the students are added into this spreadsheet. If you have a worksheet that's in a different form, or they placed it elsewhere, the process of adding students to this worksheet is as easy as just putting in student IDs. So honestly, if we just had a list of student IDs for summer school, the other information isn't necessarily needed for us to get them enrolled. I heard somebody come on. Was there a question? So if we get these lists by the 16th, and what I sent out in the chat was saying, you don't have to worry about schedule enrolling. If you can just say, hey, our list is done and I have this, I can work with Shane Snyder and our database team, and we will get those students enrolled in mass, and then your part will be done. At that point, we'll move on to the counselors for scheduling. Elementaries, beyond Jay Chines, I know I've talked to Ms. Pullen through email. In Brook Avenue, we're still waiting on information from leadership there to determine if they're going to utilize Frontline. But regardless, if y'all want to put your student list on here, I can get them scheduled enrolled. But I just currently still do not have any calendars, dates, times, periods, curriculum for those groups yet. So I will keep y'all posted as soon as I hear anything, but it's getting pretty late to try to set that up. Middle schools, we'll get you guys enrolled. That will be an issue again. Carver, Indian, I'm not sure. I haven't heard yet. So I'll keep y'all posted as well. And then high schools, I'll be working to get these scheduled enrolled. So for my high school registrars, don't worry about that piece. I'll get that done in mass. Waco High's got most of their lists rolling. But that way you don't have to click on 300 kids, schedule enroll. I'll do it all at one time. And then I can work with the counselors for getting them into the courses. The other good thing for high school counselors is we can, on high school counselors, we'll be mass transcripting credits from the system. So you will not have to manually enter the courses completed in Edmentum during summer school. Once we get the scheduling complete, what will happen is teachers will enter grades for those courses. We will mass transcript again with all the summer school coding, and then that will be on the transcript without you having to touch those. So that's upwards of 1,000 courses, possibly at Waco High, that we don't have to manually do, and hopefully something similar at university. So that should be a yay.
We
All
don't
right.
have any transfer forms.
All right, so with that, if you have questions on checklists, reach out to the department, reach out to your support. If you need anybody to come over, we're happy to do so to help with those boxes in the year as you're trying to gather up all your documentation. But again, let us know what we can do. Let us know if you're not getting information. I can help with that. You guys just focus on what you guys have to get done, and we will take care of everything else. I appreciate y'all, and y'all have a great rest of your afternoon.
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
we forgot our meeting. We thought it was at 2:30 and we barely even logged on. You said this was gonna be recorded?
It is recorded.
Okay, so and we can just find it on our drive. Is that correct, sir?
I'll probably just have to send it out. As soon as I stop, it ends up writing a file on the computer, and then I'll put it into YouTube, and I'll just probably send it out in a mass email to the group.
Thank you so much, sir.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Patrick.
Welcome.
Bye-bye.
Ms. Robbins, and I will call you. Ms. Robinson, what's your extension?